Hi guys, it's Harriet here. Welcome to my YouTube channel, which is crazy saying that, but today we're doing a bit of a vlog style video around the farm, answering your questions that you guys have asked us on Instagram, because everybody's been super nice and super interested since finishing the show and wanting to know about me, so we thought we'd do a little go around the tour of the farm and answer your questions while we go. So I was born onto a family farm in Derbyshire, and me and my sister grew up on the farm. It was my granddad's farm, and then my dad took over when my granddad passed away, and yeah, we've been going ever since. And then I met James in 2018, and then now I help him on his farm, which is where we are right now. So yeah, I've been sort of like in a roundabout way been pushed into it, but it's the way that I wanted to go into, and it can be quite a hard industry to get into if you're not born into it. So yeah, that's how I got into farming. I've been born into it. Ooh, that's a good one. I'd say probably Australia, just cause I'm not like dead diverse on, I don't know everywhere. June, shush. It's because they normally come out and help me when I'm doing this. So yeah, I'd say Australia just because they have like amazing fields, and you can spend a whole day in a field, and I feel like the way of farming over there is so much more like the public, and the general public and society accepts farmers a lot more and realises how much they need them. I'd say probably, like, I still want to be farming 100%. I want to be up and set on YouTube, educating like people in the general public and children on like the farming way of life, and hopefully become a bit more of a spokesperson to represent women in the industry. I love the way of life, like it is a way of life, and I have neighbours here that I've made to become like really good friends with, and I think like having that community and sense of like togetherness within an industry, like people are always going to be there for you, and when times get hard, people really club together in the farming industry. But then apart from that, obviously tractors. Started driving tractors when I was 12, only in the fields, DVLA. And I think I was moving little bales with a flat 8 grab when I was 12, and yeah, then it sort of grew from there. I think my dad was very much like on his own at that point, so he needed a hand, and me and my sister were all he'd got, so that's why we went from there. I'd say my dad sort of helped me with like the more manual older tractors, and then I started contracting out with a local contractor in a village 10 minutes away from us, and that's where I started learning how to drive new kit that's bigger kit. And yeah, I think once you can drive a tractor, you can drive any tractor, but it is hard work to sort of learn. I think on the newer tractors, definitely it's harder work because every button does something different, and there's about 10 million buttons, as Jeremy says that there is. But yeah, it is hard. But once you know you can drive one, you can drive all. So we are going to put out some round bales for these, because obviously you can see that they're pretty much finished. But so it all depends on the farmer's preference. We bale our straw in square bales, which are stacked up in the shed behind. And we bale them into squares because they stack really easy and you save a bit of shed space. And also the fact that it's the local contractor that bales them, so he's got square balers and they are a bit quicker. Because with a round baler, normally you have to stop, drop, and then keep going again. Whereas with a square baler, you can just keep going and they'll just drop out the back. So they are a bit quicker, but square balers are very expensive. So a lot of smaller farmers will have round balers just for the cost price. And also when we're stacking like silage bales, they stack really well in round bales outside. So that's why there's a slight difference. It all depends on preference, really. Well, I think everyone knows from the show that my favourite tractor is a Massey Ferguson, but apart from Massey Fergusons, I'd probably say I do like a McCormick, because they're the tractors that I've grown up with Massey Ferguson and McCormick. But yeah, I feel like with tractor brands, you're either one brand or you're a different brand, and that's it. Cattle here, these are all heifers, so these are female cows, and they've all been AI'd, so they're all in calf. And then in a couple of weeks, we're going to put the bull that's outside in with them to catch up any that haven't been caught by the AI. So artificially inseminated is what the AI means. So these will all be breeding cows. And then those at the end, they're the year younger. So these will be 2 this year. And they're last year's calves. So these are now ready to calve in, I want to say February? Yeah, so obviously I've grown up on the farm and then done my nursing as well. Has sort of left it so that I've got 2 professions, if you like. And I think the reason that I did it is because the farm didn't make us enough money to like sustain people working on it full time. Obviously it is a full-time job, farming, it really is, but it was putting it in between after nursing, before nursing, going to work, doing a full day of nursing, and it can become really draining. So I think making sure that you're splitting your time really nicely, you're not overdoing it, because it can become really, really draining if you're doing too much of one thing or too much of the other. But making sure that you're in a place where you can sustain your livelihood, but also doing what you're passionate about. Because I think for me, obviously I was passionate about farming and nursing. So life's changed since Parkinson's coming out. It's been a bit of a whirlwind, and I'm forever grateful for everything. But yeah, it's been absolutely crazy. I think people coming up to you in like Morrison's or in the supermarket or on the street and like recognising me and I think to myself, like, I almost forget that I was on it, and I think, oh my god, how did they know me? And then I'm like, oh yeah. But the positivity and like how kind everyone's been since it's come out has been incredible, and just seeing how much people are actually interested in farming again, and how much the show has like re-sparked that passion for the general public to want to get to know about what we do every day. So I think it's changed my life in so many ways. Obviously it's given me you guys and a bit of an audience for me to sort of help and try and show what we do day to day on the farm, but also like for myself it sort of sparked that passion for farming a bit more, like seeing how many people and how many young people want to go into farming and how many questions are being asked of how do I get into farming if I'm not from a farming background. Those kind of things are like, for me, really like wholesome, and like I want to help people get into farming. So it's just changed my life completely, which is incredible. I'm 24. It was always, for me, I knew I wanted to farm because that was what my granddad had done, and like keeping the farm in the family is really important to me. But then it's also about I needed the money, and I wanted to buy a house, and I wanted to be sustainable for myself, and earn my own money and be independent. And unfortunately the farm that I lived on couldn't facilitate that. And going into, my mum was very much set, because my mum's side of the family wasn't from a farming background, and she was very much set that I needed to go out and get myself a degree so that I had something to fall back on if the farming didn't work out. Or, farming's quite a tough industry and not everybody can do it, and sometimes farms get like sold and land gets taken over and things like that. So it wasn't really like that structural industry to go into when I was 16. So yeah, I went into the nursing mainly because I did have a passion for it. When my granddad passed away when I was 12, and he had prostate cancer, and looking after him, it was very much like I've got that passion to look after people and care for people. So that's why I chose the nursing on the side of the farming. So we've just fed the heifers, and now I'm going to jump in the car and go and check around the sheep. So we've got 3 border collies, which everyone sees in the videos and TikTok. So June's the mum, and then these 2 are the pups, which we had in August last year. And they're all sheepdogs, so they're all going to be working. The Sky's just got back from training, and June, get down. And Tyke's a bit younger, a bit immature, so he's going to go into training soon, aren't you? So yeah, and then we obviously have a few household dogs as well. Right, come on. So we're in the sheep field now. We're checking over the lambs. We weaned them probably about 4 days ago now. So just making sure that nothing's got fly strike, everything's healthy. So yeah, we'll just have a quick walk around. This is quite a good one because I think, especially for farmers, like to balance working and social is quite difficult because you never know what your day-to-day is going to look like. And even if we get all our jobs done and then the next door neighbour rings up and says, oh, your sheep are out, or your cows are out, or you know, something's not very well or whatnot, you then have to just pop everything down and go to it. So it's quite difficult to juggle work and social. Like we can go to the pub one night and then all of a sudden someone calls you up and says you've got a lame sheep or something that's not very well, and you just have to drop everything and go to the farm. So it's quite difficult, but I'd say like setting yourself tasks for the day of what you want to get done that day on the farm, and then once you've got them done, like not thinking pushing myself until, you know, if we finish at 8 o'clock on the farm, that's quite a good win. So like not pushing myself to be here till 10 o'clock at night because I'll overdo myself. And I think a lot of farmers don't know when to stop because they're just so used to farming all the time that they'll work until 2 a.m. in the morning. One of my friends, Millie, will tell you that I'm awful at riding horses. It's not really my jam. I did ride horses when I was younger because my granddad, we grew up with Hackney horses. But I'm not a horse rider. They're not my thing. I'd rather be in control, and that's why I drive tractors, don't ride horses. But my sister's the horse rider. I love to set myself goals. That's my kind of thing of what I want to do for the year. And I think this year, like, I'm focusing on pushing like the YouTube and my social media as much as I can, and sort of getting my name out there, and hopefully one day I'll be a household name, which will be amazing. But apart from that, I want to promote, like, push the farm as much as we can, see if we can, you know, like, get a hold of some more land, because land's really hard to get a hold of. So, yeah, farming is my priority this year, and see where it takes us. So, yeah. Everybody says, like, summer and spring on the farm is the best, and it is. Like, I love spring when we're lambing, and obviously getting these, because these are this year's lambs that we've just weaned. So, you know, without lambing we wouldn't have new life every year, and I do love it, but it is so knackering. Lambing is, we'll be shattered from lambing all night, and then you get up in the morning and sheep don't just stop lambing. So spring is amazing, and it's like when everything, new life's coming and the grass is greening up, and you just feel like you're just getting out of that nasty, horrible winter. But summer's always going to be my favourite, just because of all the tractoring and the grass is growing, and it's that sense of like, it's just summer on the farm is the best. This is like quite a difficult one. Obviously I'm not a vet and I don't know the correct answer to this, but from a farmer's perspective, we used to clip all the sheep's feet, and then news came out that you shouldn't really be clipping them, and there's like a hoof, a sheep's hoof. They sort of grow over themselves like that, and that sort of protects anything from getting in and making it all infected or nasty, or any bacteria getting in. And we'd always cut that off. So now, since we've been doing that, they have been a lot better. The only thing I would say is we have struggled a lot with maggots getting in them and flies laying eggs. So that's the only thing that's really made them lame. And this is the first year we've actually foot bathed our ewes and lambs as well. So fingers crossed, we haven't had that many problems so far. Yeah, farming's quite a difficult one to get into if you're not born into it, but it's not unachievable. You can definitely get into it. So I myself met a lot of people that weren't from farming backgrounds in Young Farmers, which I think is a great way of, like, great sense of community, where people can meet people that are farmers and that have connections in the farming community. So I think get yourself to Young Farmers, and if you're between 10 and 28 now, get yourself to Young Farmers and meet some like-minded people that might have connections in the farming world, and then you can start at the bottom, get yourself like a milking job. Not that dairy's on the bottom, but a lot of people going into farming don't like I would not want to milk every day. It'd be it's a bit of a nightmare for me. It's hard work, it really is, milking cows every day. So get yourself into a bit of like a dairy farm where they might want some hands-on help, and I feel like when you can milk a cow, you can milk a cow. So yeah, maybe go into that and then build your way up from there. And I think if you're not in Young Farmers, then like speak to your local community. There's a lot of farmers that attend events and things, and get yourself to local shows and see if you can get your name out there. But apart from that, Facebook's a really great way to like get in touch with the community and see if anybody out there is wanting a bit of a hand. So these sheep look all good today, thankfully, and we're going to go over and check on the cows outside. So at James's farm here where we are now, we've got sementals, pure and pedigree sementals, and like seeing and being around cattle that, you know, not necessarily that I'd have been around before, they sort of change your mind and the way you think of them, because my dad has 20 store cattle that he fattens up every year, and there's like Belgian Blues, Angus, things like that, and I think being around them and like their like feisty like temperament that's very excitable, even though they are young cattle, the semental breed's quite chilled and they're like placid, and like when we find them in a minute, you'll see they just don't really care what you're doing. And I think because of that, it sort of made me think sementals are probably my favourite cows at the minute, because also they're not that widely found in the UK. There's not that many semental cattle farms in the UK, and I think it's another little niche that we've got that's like, oh yeah, we farm semental cattle, which is, you know, bringing another cattle breed into the UK and promoting that breed. So yeah, my favourites are sementals, just for, you know, their temperament and their niche as well. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think for me, I've been really lucky that so many like farmers around me, and although like 95% of the people around me that farm are male, I think I've been really lucky to be accepted into the industry. And I think because I've been brought up around my dad and like having conversations with my dad, he'd talk about PTO shafts and hydraulics on tractors and things, and you had to learn what he was talking about. I think, we found the cows. I think being around that has sort of made me realise, like made me be accepted, because I can have conversations with the lads and keep those conversations up and know what I'm on about. But it is still like when I go out of the area, people very much think you're just the farmer's wife, and then that's a stereotype I'm trying to change. Like obviously I'll be with James, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's the farmer and I'm the farmer's wife. It might be that I'm the farmer and he's my husband, you know, whatnot. But yeah, so that's a stereotype I'm trying to change. Can he do that? I can't. That's, you know, that's the question. And to be fair, apart from like pick up something that's slightly heavier, I don't think there's much. So probably just to not let anyone tell you can't do something. I think especially for young women going into an industry that's predominantly male led, I think don't let them tell you can't do it. If you go turn around and say, somebody says like, you say, oh, do you want me to hitch up that tractor to a piece of equipment, and they're like, no, like you can't do that, just turn around and show them you can. Because I think obviously you've got to learn, but lads have got to learn that too. And if the farmer wouldn't show a lad how to do it, then they wouldn't know. So you should have equal opportunities and make sure you're given that in life, and if you're not, then go somewhere that you are given that, because you're just as good. Oh, yeah, I was quite nervous, I think, when I was young. I think I was about 15 when I started YFC, which is quite late. But I think, like, take one of your friends, see if anybody wants to go. And Young Farmers is definitely not just for farmers. Like, there is so many people in Young Farmers that aren't from a farming background but just have similar passions. So just take someone with you, go and have fun, meet people, introduce yourself. Be, like, out there, put yourself out there, but obviously to an extent where you're not like in people's faces, but just put yourself out there and go and meet people and chat to them about farming and find out their interests, because you might find some really great friends in Young Farmers. I know, like me personally, probably like 50% of my friends group I met in Young Farmers, so yeah, it's a great way to be. Probably the people. Like I met some of the nicest people ever in Young Farmers, and I've got friends that even now, like after being in a new local Young Farmers group, like they're some of my best friends. And I think having those like girls and lads that are in the same mindset as you and seeing like a lot of the time we'd go out to farms and see the way that other farmers would do farming. So they're trying to mate. So this is our new bull, who's called Paddy, and he's obviously with all our calving cows at the minute. So one of them's obviously in heat, that's why they're jumping on each other. Don't worry. Usually we wake up about 6:30, head down to the farm for 7, just after 7, and then feed round, see where the day takes us, see what we've got planned for the day, and then go from there really. I'd say obviously I love the tractoring, but being with the animals like now and just checking round and even making sure that everything's fine and getting to like know your animals. Like obviously I know most 90% of the cows, we know which one's which. Like this is Trish, who's the oldest cow on the farm. They're all getting bothered by the flies because it's so hot. So like those kind of things, like just getting to know your animals and building so that they trust me to be their owners, I suppose. My dad was in Young Farmers, which is a really cute, everyone's like, oh, that's really sweet that you went after the same sort of thing that your dad did. But my dad was in Young Farmers, and he was part of England's tug of war team, and he pulled for England. And I think when tug of war is a part of a competition in Young Farmers, so when we do a rally every year, and we do competitions and compete against other clubs, and part of that is tug of war. So we put together a ladies tug of war team and went from there, and we did quite well. So we were training twice a week, which was really, really, really fun. So Matilda's a heifer that James's mum and dad went to Carlisle and bought a few years ago now, and she's reared 2 calves in a really short space of time, which is amazing, and that's like what a farmer would want because they're producing constantly. She's having a bit of a break now, which is fine, and she's just like a perfect example of a semental cow really. So I think this is one of my standout things that people have picked up on, is the fact that I do wear makeup and do my hair when I'm on the farm, but it's just because it makes me feel good about myself. Like if it's like my thing in the morning, it's my routine. I get up and I put makeup on and do my hair, even if it's only cows that are going to see me, who cares. So I use number 7 foundation, just like the 15% SPF one that's quite light, and I mix it with just literally like a Nivea moisturiser, which is so basic, and then I use the Maybelline Sky High mascara. Actually being blonde, and I'd love to say I'm naturally blonde. I was born blonde and then it went dark, which most people's hair does now. But I use Absolute Repair by L'Oreal, just because it's so it kills it being out on the farm all day and in the weather and the wind and the rain. And obviously I do like to curl it, so it just sort of kills it really, the heat does. So I use Absolute Repair by L'Oreal. I drive a Range Rover Evoque. But I am in need of a truck now, because I think I've put that much rubbish in my car from the farm that I think it's just getting battered. So I want a truck really to know about it, but that I wish the public wouldn't think that farming is killing the planet, because there is so many things that are killing this planet, but I wouldn't really ever say that farming is something that's killing the planet. I mean, once upon a time, before there was all these factories and airplanes and things like that, everywhere was farming land, and the planet was perfectly fine then. So so it's like this stigma that farming's killing the planet because these cows produce methane, when people are going on holiday and flying in planes. Probably, I would love to know how many planes leave this country every day. Let's actually Google how many planes will leave this country every day. Approximately 9,000 planes take off from the UK every day, and you think of the emissions that are coming off of that. I think farming is and will hopefully be forever a great industry to be a part of, and will at the end of the day provide you 3 meals your clothes on your back. Like it's a great, like, people want to go on countryside holidays and see like that kind of a landscape and have views and things like that. You don't want to be staring at houses all the time, and if farming dies out, that's what you'll get. All this ground will be covered in housing, and it will increase our population even more because there'll be housing going up here, there and everywhere. So, you know, I just want people to see how lovely of a place this is. And like, I think even if I brought somebody here from the city, you couldn't tell me this isn't one of the nicest places ever to be in the world. And I think, you know, as much as we need these like cities and all these factories and things to produce stuff, we need to also remember that this is important too, and it's an industry that people probably don't know enough about. So yeah, changing the persona of like farming killing the planet. So I want to say we carve about 40 odd cows a year. And some of them we carve our heifers early, and James wants to go more into carving cows early inside, just so we can keep an eye on them. We've got cameras obviously that we can watch them, and this year we've carved outside, and it's just making sure that you can check around them all the time. So some of these bigger calves that are over here, they were born in like February time, and then we've got some younger ones that were born outside from our older cows that have like been that have calved probably 6 times. So they're veterans, they know what they're doing, so we sort of let them get on with it a bit more. But yeah, this next time we're going to try and hopefully carve inside early, and yeah, there'll be some quite exciting vlogs coming up because we're going to turn one of our machinery sheds into all cattle housing this year, so that'll be one to watch out for. Cows probably. I like a scrambled egg. Ooh. Chinese. I use my Kawaki clothing, bib and brace waterproofs. Ooh, Shams, probably Shams. My go-to country fashion brand, Holland Cooper. Good answer, good question. We've won very differently. I wouldn't say one's better than the other, but look, Caleb's always been there for me, and yeah, we talk a lot about how he's getting on farming over there and how I'm getting on farming over here, because we're like 2.5 hours away from each other. So yeah, I can call him up on a daily and just be like, how are you getting on, like how's the grass growing over there and stuff like that, and he'll do the same with us and just have a friendly chit chat and make sure that everything's sound with each other, and he'd always be there if I needed him. So that's it. We've asked all the questions, so thank you guys so much for asking those kind of questions. They've been really fun and exciting to answer. I hope I've answered everything to you got the answers that you kind of wanted. So yeah, so the cows are all fine, so we're gonna go and head and do some more farming now. But thank you guys so much for watching. This is like the first YouTube video, so if there's anything that you guys want to see from the YouTube channel, obviously there'll be a lot more farming and less of me talking in the future. Sorry about talking too much. So yeah, leave it in the comments if there's anything you particularly want to see from the farm, and I hope to see you guys on the next one.